What
Yeah.
would you say was your favourite part?
I think that my favorite part was just the group discussions, which we'd never really had before, having that sort of interaction with our other leaders in the business, those regular weekly catch-ups where we shared what our challenges were, and it made it feel really grounded. We hadn't really shared before.
What would you point to as your top three things that you would say is skill development for you?
Top three, probably ownership and accountability for me was a real big one.
Mm.
Taking responsibility for the outcomes of everything, being that person in charge, finding reasons as to why things weren't done rather than trying to sort of take accountability and get to the root problem or resolve it, basically. Communication, I think, throughout, clarity and communication. That was a massive one that I think I've been able to improve on. Just finding the right communication medium to be able to go out to my managers and the team to ensure we get the best results, basically. And having more meetings and one-to-ones rather than just an email response back. There's certainly been a big change that I've taken on from it. And it seems really simple, doesn't it? But it's actually something you probably don't realize until you're doing a program that you're actually doing it wrong. Being consistent, being that sort of leader that I should be, regardless of who's in front of me or who's watching or whoever I'm managing at the time.
Were there any things that surprised you or things that occurred to you as being those sort of aha connection moments for you?
I think it's a lot of it, in fairness. I think the whiffles that we introduced quite early on are a bit of that for me. Resetting a meeting before you go into it. Why have I not done that before? Why have we just set the tone? Why have we not opened it up to resetting it and going again? So that was probably the biggest thing for me.
Which
Yeah.
are the parts that you enjoyed most? Which would you say was really helping?
Which the parts that I enjoy? I think just like you say, getting that opinion of the other leaders in the room, which I partly mentioned at the start. I think just the basics of leadership, which you think
Yeah.
you've already grasped and you think you're the best at. Actually, when you strip it down, there's so many things that you're not doing right or you're not doing enough of, which really make a difference. So I took a lot, and I probably couldn't talk about one or two things really. It was probably for me, being very new to that overall management piece in terms of being accountable and managing a floor. The whole thing I took a lot from, in fairness. The one thing, my own self-awareness, I think, is something that I picked up on quite quickly, where I just taken a pause and thinking about what I'm doing. That was actually probably a real big one for me. And that was probably the most feedback I got prior to having the leadership program, the self-awareness and understanding the right way to go about things.
You've opened the door really to not only looking at yourself, but others to give you feedback in a way, perhaps that you let
Before.
in before.
And that's that fear of weakness for me, where, the idea that not using knowledge and the know-how of others, the experience they've got, and asking for help when needed and taking that into your own self-reflection and feedback rather than just thinking what you're doing is right, which is really narrow-minded, but it's so difficult to break away from.
So, what about the future for you? Either about learning and development from leadership in particular, or
Yeah.
goals that you've set?
I'm really excited about the 90-day plans that we'd actually introduced. That's something that probably took a little bit longer for me to get my head around and start implementing.
Yeah.
But we're in that cycle now, and I've set some goals myself, but also the team have, as to what we want to achieve for the next year and things that we want to move. I know I've mentioned about the culture and making sure we're clear on communication and my purpose really for being a leader. But ultimately, yeah, it's that 90-day plan. I think the goals that I'm setting. For me, I want to be able to hit all my targets and objectives this year, which, whilst a good year last year, not where I want to be. I want to be able to use everything we've put in place already, have that structure from the 90-day plan, I think, and make sure my goals are hit. I think on a
Yeah, cool.
personal note as well, I think ultimately taking what I've got from the leadership program, I'd like to be able to use those skills and know-how now to filter it down within my management team, do some like leadership sessions myself in
Yeah.
terms of what I've taken away and what I learned and how they could improve. Because for the ones that haven't been through it, they won't really know.
What would you say to somebody who was perhaps on the fence thinking about taking leadership program with Action Coach, but was unsure about it?
I would say I was very eyes open going into the program, but also a bit in the mindset that I'm a great leader. And what was actually quite apparent quite quickly in the first weeks is that the things that you think you're doing that are good leadership techniques or a good way of leading your team probably isn't, and it needs stripping back. I think the
Mm.
action coach for me has given me the confidence to share where I'm not quite there, where I'm not quite at it, where I need support, have that self-assessment and really share ideas with people, which I never did before. I was quite defensive at taking feedback, and as we've discussed. So for me, it's opened up loads of different avenues for me, and I'd say go for it, absolutely.